The cargo bay of station Epsilon 7. Smelled like oil and metal. Dejou wiped sweat from his forehead as he checked the straps on another container. He had been working in space for 2 years now, and he still loved every moment of it. Being one of the first humans to work among aliens felt like a dream. Container 7-4 is secure, he called out to his supervisor, a tall insectoid named Quinn. The clicked his mandibles. In approval, Quinn's exoskeleton gleamed. Under the bright station lights, he was half again as tall as Dejou Ho, but far more delicate. One hard fall could crack that shell and kill him. The loading bay was busy that morning. Workers from 6 different species moved cargo between ships. The Velryns handled the delicate equipment. The massive Dragonites lifted the heaviest loads. Humans like Dejou did everything in between. They were the newcomers here, still proving themselves to the Galactic Union. Dejou grabbed his scanner and moved toward the next container. This one was enormous. Sealed unit holding mining equipment. Bound for the outer colonies. The crane system overhead hummed as it lifted the 800 kg crate. Standard procedure. Nothing unusual. Then the alarm shrieked. Red lights flooded the bay. The crane's magnetic clamps sparked and failed. The massive container lurched sideways, falling fast right toward a group of 4 Velryn workers who stood below, unaware. Dejou did not think his sister Jiawu had died saving others during an earthquake back on Earth. She never hesitated. Neither did he. He ran. His legs pumped hard against the metal floor. The Velryns looked up too late. Freezing in terror, their fragile bodies would shatter under that weight. Dejou reached them in seconds. He shoved 2 Velryns aside with both arms, sending them sprawling to safety. The shadow of the falling crate covered him. No time to run, no time to escape. Dejou dropped to his knees and threw his back upward, trying to deflect the container's edge away from the remaining Velryns. The impact was like being hit by a shuttle. The crate's corner drove into his upper back with crushing force. Something inside him snapped with a sound like breaking wood. Pain exploded through his body, white and burning. The container bounced off him and crashed to the floor beside the Velryns, missing them by centimeters. Dejou collapsed. He could not breathe. His chest would not expand. The floor was cold against his cheek. Through blurring vision, he saw the Velryns standing alive, staring at him with their compound eyes wide with shock. Good, he thought, they're okay. Then everything went dark. He woke to voices speaking in sharp, worried tones. Medical bay. The smell of antiseptic filled his nose. Dejou tried to move, but his body would not obey. He could not feel his legs. Panic surged through him. He's conscious, someone said. Voice belonged to Thel, the station's Corvusci medical officer. The Corvaxi looked like a floating jellyfish with dozens of thin tentacles. Their species had no central brain, just nerve clusters throughout their body. They understood medicine differently than humans did. Can you hear me, Dejou? Thelm's translator made their bubbling speech into clear words. Yes, Dejou whispered. His throat was dry. My legs, I can't feel them. Silence filled the room. Thelm drifted closer. Their tentacles moving in what Dejou had learned was distress. Behind them stood Yura, a Phosian physician who looked like a being made of living crystal. Her faceted surface reflected the medical lights and rainbow patterns. Dejou, Thelm said slowly, your spine is Broken, 3 vertebrae are shattered. The damage to your spinal cord is severe. In every species we know this. Injury is fatal. The nerve signals cannot pass the brake, the body below. The damage dies within hours, but I'm alive, Djo said. For now, Yura's musical voice chimed. We do not understand human biology well enough. We have stabilized you, but you must prepare yourself. You will not survive the night. I am sorry. Djo closed his eyes. He thought of Jai Wu of Earth, of his parents who had been so proud when he got this job. He thought of Quinn and the others alive. Because he had acted worth it, he decided if this was the cost, it was worth it. The doctors left him alone. Hours crawled past. Pain medication kept the worst of it away, but Djo could feel his body struggling. Something was wrong inside him, broken beyond repair. The aliens were probably right. Humans were new to space. Maybe their doctors just did not know how to save him. He drifted in and out of consciousness. In his dreams, Ju smiled at him. You did good, little brother, she said, but you're not done yet. Get up. I can't. He told her, yes, you can. We always get back up. That's what we do. 4 hours after the doctors had given him his death sentence, Djo opened his eyes. The room was dimmer now, set for night cycle. He lay there staring at the ceiling and took inventory of his body. His chest rose and fell. That was good. His arms responded when he told them to move. Also good. His back was a sea of fire, pain so intense it made him want to scream, but below that pain, deep in his body, he felt something impossible. His left toe twitched. Djo held his breath. He focused every bit of will he had on that distant part of himself. The toe moved again, then his right foot shifted slightly. He could feel the blanket against his shins. He was not paralyzed. His hand found the call button. He pressed it. Within seconds, Thelm rushed into the room, tentacles flailing in surprise. You're awake, the Korvaxi said. That is unexpected, but Djo, you must remain calm. The end will come soon. The visit. Interrate 2-. Check my legs, Djo said. What, my legs? I can feel them. I can move them. Thelm went completely still. Then they moved to the foot of the bed and pulled back the blanket. Move your toes, they commanded. Did both feet flexed. The medical scanner in Thel's tentacles clattered to the floor. Impossible, the Korvaxi breathed. This is impossible. Yura, come here. Immediately, the crystalline physician rushed in. More scans, more shocked silence. The 2 doctors looked at each other, then at Djo, then at their instruments, as if the machines had malfunctioned. Your spine is still broken, said slowly. The vertebrae are shattered. The spinal cord shows massive trauma. You should be dead, at minimum. You should be paralyzed, but the nerve signals are getting through, somehow. Your body is routing them around the damage. So I'll live, Djo asked. We don't know, Thelm admitted. We have never seen anything like this. Humans are more resilient than we understood. Word spread through the station quickly. The human who should have died was alive. The human who should never walk again could move his toes. Workers from a dozen species came to the medical bay windows to stare at him like he was some kind of miracle. Djo lay in his bed, feeling the impossible pain in his back and the impossible sensation in his legs, and wondered what came next. He had stood up for others. Now he would have to stand up for himself outside His window, the stars turned slowly in. The black of space. Somewhere among them was Earth, where humans had always gotten back up after being knocked down. It was what they did best. He would not stop now. The medical bay became Dejoe's entire world. White walls, bright lights, and the constant beeping of monitors tracking his vital signs. Dr. Thelm and Dr. Ura visited him every few hours, running more tests, taking more scans, speaking in hushed voices about things that should not be possible. The human skeletal structure is remarkably dense, Ura told her colleague one morning, not realizing Dejoe was awake. Her crystalline body chimed softly as she moved. The vertebrae are shattered, yes, but the fragments remain close together. And look at these scans. The bone is already beginning to lay down new calcium deposits. Impossible, Thelm said, for perhaps the 100th time. Bone regeneration takes months in most species. It has been only 5 days. Humans evolved on a heavy gravity world. Ura continued. Their bones must be stronger to support them. Perhaps their healing abilities evolved in parallel. Dave cleared his throat. Both doctors turned to face him. How much did you hear? Thelm asked. Enough to know you're confused, Dejoe said. That makes 2 of us. Can you explain what's happening to me in simple terms? Thelm drifted closer, tentacles moving in complicated pattern. Your species has redundancies we do not understand. Most species have one major nerve pathway through their spine. If that breaks, all signal transmission stops, but humans have multiple smaller pathways. When the main pathway was damaged, your body somehow activated these backup routes. It should not work, but it does. Additionally, Ura added, your immune system is extraordinarily aggressive. It has already begun breaking down damaged tissue and rebuilding. Your body treats this catastrophic injury as something it can fix. Can it? Dage asked. Can I really heal from this? The doctors exchanged glances. We do not know, Thel admitted. We have no data on human spinal injuries. You are the first case, but if your progress continues, you may regain some function. However, you must understand walking again is almost certainly impossible. Dejoe nodded slowly. He had expected as much, but almost certainly was not the same as definitely. His sister Jai Wu had taught him that. He remembered her. During the earthquake, the building had collapsed. She was trapped. Rescue workers said she could not possibly be alive under that much rubble, but she was, and when they finally reached her, she was holding up a concrete beam with her back, creating a pocket of air for 3 children. Beneath her, the beam had crushed her spine. She died minutes after the rescue, but those 3 children lived. We get back up, she had told him once. Years before the earthquake, they had been hiking and Dejoe Ho had fallen, twisting his ankle. He wanted to quit. That's what our family does. We get knocked down and clears throat. We get back up. Remember that. He would remember. A week passed. Deho could now flex both feet and curl his toes. The sensation was distant and strange, like his legs belonged to someone else, but it was there. Thelm and Ura documented everything, sending reports to medical facilities across the Galactic Union. You are becoming famous, told him one day. Other species are fascinated by your recovery. Some are inspired, others are frightened. Frightened of what? Of humans, Ura said quietly. If your species can survive injuries that would kill anyone else, What does that mean for the power balance in the galaxy? Commander Vakran of Station Security has been asking questions about human durability. Dejou frowned. He had met Vakran once, a massive dragonite with scales like armor and eyes like frozen fire. Draconites were warriors, proud and strong. They did not like competition. I'm not a threat, Dejou said. I'm just trying to heal, we know, Thelm said, but fear is not always rational. On day 10, Quinn visited. The Velen entered. Hesitantly, his antenna twitching with nervousness, he approached Dejou's bed and clicked his mandibles several times. Before speaking, "You saved my life," Quinn said through his translator. "You saved all of us. My culture has a concept called life debt. When someone preserves your existence at cost to themselves, you owe them everything. I am bonded to you now, Dejou. Whatever you need, I will provide. You don't owe me anything." Dejou said, "I just did what anyone would do." "No," Quinn said firmly. "Most would not. Most would calculate the risk and choose self-preservation. You did not hesitate. That is why I am alive and you are here." The Velen paused. "The doctors say you may never walk. If that is true, I will be your legs. I will carry you wherever you wish to go." Emotion tightened Dejou's throat. "Thank you, Quinn, but I'm going to walk. Again, I don't know how, but I will." "Then I will help you," Quinn said. 2 weeks after the accident, Dejou convinced Thelm to let him try sitting up. Doctor protested, but Dejou insisted. With Yura and Quinn watching, he used his arms to pull himself upright. Pain was incredible. His back screamed in protest, muscles and nerves firing in confused agony. Sweat poured down his face, but he sat up. He stayed up for 30 seconds before his strength gave out and he collapsed back onto the bed, gasping. "You are insane," Thelm said, but there was admiration in the Korvoxy's voice, just determined. Dejou panted. The next day he sat up for a minute, then 2 minutes, then 5. His body was remembering how to function. The doctors watched in amazement as nerve pathways rebuilt themselves, as bone fragments began to fuse, as the impossible became merely improbable. 3 weeks after the accident, another human arrived at the station. Hunwu was Dejou and LT Unk and GT's closest friend, cargo pilot who had been off station during the accident. He rushed into the medical bay, eyes wide with worry. "I came as soon as I heard," Hyan Wu said. "They told me you were dying. They told me you'd never move again, but you're sitting up." "I'm working on it," Dave said with a weak smile. Hunwu pulled a chair close to the bed. "Listen, everyone back on Earth is watching this. The news feeds are covering your recovery. You're showing the galaxy what humans can do. I'm just trying to heal Hunwu. I'm not making a statement, but you are." His friend insisted. "Every day you survive is proof that humans belong in space, that we're strong enough for this life. Commander Vakran and others like him want to use your injury to argue that humans are too fragile for dangerous work. Instead, you're showing them we're too tough to break." Dejou had not thought of it that way. He was just focusing on the next small goal, the next tiny improvement. But Hunwu was right. The galaxy was watching. What he did mattered beyond just himself. "Then I better not disappoint them," Dejou said that night. Alone in his bed, Dejou focused all his will on his legs. He had been doing this every day, pushing his body to remember, to reconnect, to heal. The pain was constant now, a background static he had learned to ignore, he told his right. Need a bend, it did, just a few centimeters barely visible, but his knee bent, tears ran down DeJoe's face. Not from pain but from hope. He was going to walk again. The doctors said it was impossible. Biology said it was impossible, but humans had been doing impossible things since they first stood upright on the African plains millions of years ago. 3 days later, Thel ran new scans. The Korvaxi stared at the results for a long time before speaking. The bone is fusing, they said quietly. New neural pathways have formed around the damaged areas. Your muscles are maintaining their mass despite limited use. Dejo, this should not be happening, but it is. At this rate, you may actually regain the ability to stand. Medio asked. Nothing is certain. The damage is still severe, but your body is repairing itself in ways we have never documented. You are rewriting our understanding of biology. I'm many signed. These are man signed. I'm needs. I'm knees. I'm nevs. I'm knees. Outside the medical bay window, workers passed by. Some waved to DeJoe, others stared. A few Draconites glared with what looked like anger or fear. DeJoe waved back to the friendly ones and ignored the rest. He had work to do. His body was fighting to heal itself. The least he could do was help it along. That evening, with Quinn and Haiyan Wu supporting him on either side, DeJoe moved his legs off the bed and placed his feet on the floor for the first time in nearly a month. The cold metal against his soles felt like victory. 3 months after the accident, DeJoe stood. For the first time, it took 2 people to help him, Quinn on one side, Han Wu on the other, each supporting his weight. As his legs trembled with effort, his back burned with pain so intense it made his vision blur, but he was standing. His feet pressed against the floor, his legs held his weight, shaking but functional. 10 seconds, Vel called out. Monitoring the medical scanners, that is enough for today. 20, Dejo gasped. Through gritted teeth, Dejo, please. You are pushing too hard. 30, sweat poured down his face. His legs felt like they were made of fire and glass, about to shatter at any moment. Every nerve in his back screamed for him to stop, but he stayed standing. 30 seconds, 40, 50. At 1 minute, his knees buckled. Quinn and Han Wu caught him, lowering him carefully back into the wheelchair. Dejo Ho slumped forward, breathing hard, pain washing over him in waves. You are insane, Yura said, but her crystalline voice held respect. No other species would push through such pain. Had to, Dejo panted. Had to. No, I could do it. Now you know, Haiyan Wu said quietly. But brother, you need to pace yourself. There's no rush. But there was a rush. Dejo knew it even if his friends did not. Word had spread through the station and beyond. The human who survived the unsurvivable. The human who was healing from a broken back. Some saw it as inspiration. Others saw it as a threat. Commander Vakrin had been making noise. The Draconite visited the medical bay one day, his massive form filling the doorway. His scales glittered dark red under the lights and his eyes were cold. Human, he said, his voice a deep rumble. I have been studying your species since your injury. Do you know what I have learned? No, Commander, DeJoe said carefully, that your kind is dangerous. Not because you are strong, but because you do not know when to die. A species that survives what should kill them cannot be trusted. You are unpredictable. Unnatural. I'm just a cargo worker who got hurt, sir. You are proof that humans do not belong in the Galactic Union. Your resilience is a threat to stability. I will be making a form report to the council. Vakrin left. The room fell silent. Don't listen to him. Quinn clicked. He fears what he does not understand, but Deho knew fear could be more dangerous than hatred. Fear made people do irrational things. The physical therapy continued. Every day Deho pushed himself further. Standing became easier, though never painless. He graduated from the wheelchair to a walker, then to crutches. Each step was agony. Each step was victory. Thelm published their research on human healing. Medical facilities across the galaxy requested the data. Some saw it as a breakthrough in understanding regenerative medicine. Others saw it as confirmation that humans were too different, too alien, too dangerous. 4 months after the accident, Djo took his first steps without support. A crowd had gathered outside the medical bay. Word had spread that today was the day. Workers from every species on the station pressed against the windows. Watching, Djo stood in the center of the room, Selna nearby with medical equipment ready, Quinn and Hun Wu standing back to give him space. You do not have to do this publicly, Thelm said. The pressure is unnecessary. No, Djo said. They need to see all of them, the ones who are cheering for me and the ones who are afraid. They need to see what humans are. He took a breath. The pain in his back was a constant companion now, something he had learned to push to the back of his mind, but never ignore completely. His legs felt weak, uncertain, but they were his legs. They worked. Djo took a step forward. His right foot moved, lifting off the ground, swinging forward. Setting down, his weight shifted. His left foot followed. One step, then another, then another. The watching crowd erupted. Some cheered, some made sounds of amazement in languages Djo did not understand. Some backed away from the windows as if he were something to fear. He took 5 steps before his legs gave out. Quinn rushed forward, catching him before he fell. I did it, Djo whispered. You did, Quinn agreed. You magnificent, stubborn human, you did. The video of those 5 steps went viral across the Galactic Union. Within hours, it had been seen by billions of beings on hundreds of worlds. The reactions were mixed. On Earth, humans celebrated. Their representative in the galaxy had proven they belonged. They were tough enough for space, strong enough to stand with any species. On the Draconite home world, military councils met in worried sessions. If humans could survive such injuries, how could they be fought if war ever came? On peaceful worlds like the Fajan Crystal Gardens, philosophers debated what this meant for understanding the nature of consciousness and will. And on Station Epsilon 7, Commander Vikran watched the video with cold eyes and began making plans. 2 weeks later, Djo was walking on his own with only a cane for support. His back would never be the same. The pain would never fully go away, but he could walk. He could stand. He could work. I want to return to duty, he told station administrator Chen one morning. Chen, a human woman who managed the civilian side of the station, shook her head. Djo, you're not ready. Light duty at most. And even that is risky. I'm ready. I need to be useful again. You've been useful. You've given humanity credibility in the galaxy, but you're also a symbol now. Commander Vryn has been pushing for new regulations on human workers. He's using your injury as evidence that humans take unnecessary risks in my recovery, Dezhou asked. He says it proves humans are unpredictable and dangerous. Chen sighed. Politics is complicated. Just focus on healing for now, Chen sighed. Chen sighed. Politics is complicated, but the politics would not wait. 3 days later, Commander Vakrin submitted a formal proposal to the Galactic Council. Humans would have to undergo durability assessment trials to determine if they were safe for integration into Union space. Proposal painted humans as reckless risk-takers whose unusual resilience made them a hazard to other species. Earth's ambassador Song Min was furious. He sent messages to every council member arguing that the proposal was discriminatory, but the council was nervous. Humans were new, unknown, and now they had evidence that humans survived what killed everyone else. The debate raged for weeks. Meanwhile, Dezhou Ho continued his recovery. He could now walk without the cane for short distances. His balance had returned. His strength was building. Haiyan Wu visited him one evening with news. The council is going to vote on Vakrin's proposal next month. Ambassador Song Min is trying to block it, but he doesn't have the votes. If it passes, humans might be restricted from Union space until we complete the trials. What kind of trials? Dezhou asked. Unknown. But knowing Vakrin, they won't be easy. They'll be designed to break us. Dezhou was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, I'll volunteer. What? No, Dezhou. You just recovered from a broken back. If I don't, they'll pick someone else. Someone who hasn't already proven they can survive. I've been through the worst already. Let me do this. This is insane. Maybe. Dezhou agreed, but someone has to stand up. Might as well be the human who already knows how. He sent a message to Ambassador Song Min that night, offering to be Earth's volunteer for the assessment trials. The ambassador tried to talk him out of it. The ambassador so did Thelm, Yura, Quinn, and everyone else who cared about him, but Dezhou had made his choice. His sister had given her life for others. He would give his strength. Whatever the trials held, he would face them, not because he was special, but because he was human, and humans always got back up. The council accepted his volunteer application. 3 days later, the trials would begin in 1 month. Commander Vakrin would personally oversee them. Dezhou spent that month preparing, building his strength, pushing his body to remember everything it once knew. His back ached constantly. His legs sometimes failed him, but he kept working, kept pushing, kept standing. On the night before the trials began, Quinn came to visit. You do not have to do this, the Velen said. I owe you my life. Let me take your place. This isn't about debt, Dezhou said. It's about showing them who we are. All of humanity is watching. Quinn, I have to do this right, then I will watch. Quinn said, and if you fall, I will help you stand again. That is what life debt means. Dezhou smiled. Thank you, my friend. The trials would begin tomorrow. Whatever came, he would face it standing. The assessment arena was built in the center of Station Epsilon 7. Massive room with transparent walls so the entire galaxy could watch. Cameras from 100 worlds pointed at the space where Dezhou would prove whether humans belonged among the stars. Commander Vakrin stood at the control panel, his red scales gleaming, Beside him sat representatives from the Galactic Council, beings of various species who would judge the trials. Ambassador Song Min sat on the observation deck, his face tight with worry. Thelma monitored medical equipment, ready to intervene if things went too far. Quinn and Hyen Wu stood with a crowd of station workers, all watching. Dezhou entered the arena, wearing simple clothes. His back brace was visible beneath his shirt, a reminder of how recently he had been unable to walk. He moved carefully, each step measured, but he moved on his own. Human Dezhou. Vakran's voice boomed through speakers. You have volunteered to undergo durability assessment on behalf of your species. The trials will test your physical and mental resilience. They will be difficult. You may withdraw at any time by saying the word surrender. Do you understand? I understand, Dezhou said clearly. Then let us begin. The first trial was extreme. Heat vents in the floor began pumping hot air into the sealed arena. The temperature climbed rapidly, 30 degrees 40-50. Dezhou's shirt quickly soaked with sweat. The heat pressed against him like a physical weight. Most species would struggle at these temperatures. The Velans would die. The crystalline Phosians would crack. Even the tough Dragonites found such heat uncomfortable, but humans evolved in the heat of the African savanna. Their bodies were designed to cool themselves. Through sweat, Dezhou stood in the center of the arena, breathing slowly, letting his body do what it knew how to do. The heat was terrible but not deadly. At 60 degrees, Vran seemed surprised. Dezhou was still standing. At 70, the Dragonite finally shut down the test. Adequate, Vosen said grudgingly. Trial 2 will begin in 5 minutes. They gave him water but no rest. The second trial was cold. The temperature plunged rapidly. Degrees -20. Frost formed on the walls. Dezhou's breath came out in white clouds. His injured back seized up in the cold. The muscles cramped, pain shooting through his spine. He gritted his teeth and forced himself to keep moving, walking in circles to generate body heat. Humans were adaptable. They lived in deserts and Arctic tundras. Cold was just another challenge. At degrees, he was shivering violently. At -40, his fingers were going numb, but he stayed standing. He kept moving. He did not surrender. Vakran finally ended the test, looking frustrated. The third trial was pressure. They sealed him in a chamber and increased the atmospheric pressure, simulating deep ocean depths. The weight pressed down on him from all directions. His ears popped. His back screamed in protest as the pressure squeezed his damaged spine. But human bones were dense. Human bodies could adapt to pressure changes. Dezhou focused on breathing, on staying calm, on not panicking. As the weight increased, through the transparent walls he could see Thelm gesturing frantically at the medical monitors. Yura was arguing with Vakran, but the Draconite did not stop the test until Dezhou's nose began bleeding from the pressure. Drink this, a medical drone said when the chamber opened, offering him water. Dezhou drank, tasting blood in his mouth. How many more trials? He asked Vakran. As many as needed to understand your limits. Then let's continue. The fourth trial was sensory deprivation. They placed him in a dark, silent chamber with no input except his own thoughts. For many species, this was torture. Without external stimuli, minds could break. Dezhou sat in the darkness and Thought about his sister. He remembered. Conversations they had shared, he sang. Songs to himself quietly, he did math. Problems in his head, humans had big brains that could keep themselves entertained. Hours passed, he grew hungry and tired. But his mind stayed intact when they finally released him after 8 hours. Vulcan looked angry. You were supposed to break, the Draconite said quietly. Though his microphone was off, sorry to disappoint you, Dezhou replied. The fifth trial was endurance. They made him run on a treadmill while increasing the speed and incline. His injured back protested with every step. His legs, still recovering, burned with fatigue. But humans were endurance hunters. They could run prey to exhaustion over hours or days. Dezhou fell into a rhythm, ignoring the pain, focusing on the movement, one foot in front of the other, breathing steady, heart rate controlled. He ran for 2 hours before Volcarine finally stopped the machine. Enough, the Draconite said. Dave stumbled off the treadmill, barely able to stand. Quinn rushed forward with support, but Dezhou waved him away. He stood on his own, swaying but upright. What's next? He asked. Rest period. Volcarine said, you will need your strength for tomorrow. That night in his quarters, Dezhou could barely move. Every muscle locked. His back was a constant fire of pain. Thelm came to check on him, tentacles moving in patterns of concern. This is wrong, the Korvoxy said. These trials are designed to break you, not assess you. Varine wants you to fail. I know, Dezhou said quietly. Then why continue? Because if I don't, someone else will have to, and they might not survive. You might not survive, Thelm pointed out. Maybe, but I have to try. The next day brought psychological trials. They showed him images designed to trigger fear, disgust, horror. They played sounds meant to drive him to panic. They isolated him with false messages saying Earth had been destroyed, his family was dead, humanity had been expelled from the Union. Dezhou knew they were lies. He had to trust that. He sat through the psychological torture, reminding himself that humans had survived worse: war, plague, natural disasters, false images on a screen could not break a species that had already been through hell. But it was hard, so hard. Then came the pain tolerance test. They strapped him into a chair and explained the procedure. Controlled electric shocks increasing in intensity to measure how much pain he could endure before surrendering. Dezhou looked at the device with cold understanding. This was what Vryn had been building toward. This was designed to break him in front of the entire galaxy. I'm ready, he said. The shock started. Small, uncomfortable, but manageable. They increased gradually. Pain jolted through his body. His muscles spasmed. The damage to his back made everything worse. The electricity hitting his injured nerves like lightning strikes. He gritted his teeth and endured. The pain increased. Tears ran down his face. He bit his lip hard, enough to draw blood. Through the observation windows, he could see the crowd. Some were cheering, some were covering their eyes. Hunwu looked sick. Quinn's antennae drooped with distress. The pain climbed higher. Dezhou's vision went white. His body convulsed against the restraints. Every nerve was screaming. In his mind he saw Jai Wu. She had endured a collapsed building, had held up concrete with her broken back to save children she did not know. She never surrendered, neither would he. The electricity peaked. Dezhou screamed. He could not help it, but the scream was not the word surrender, it was just pain. Leaving his body, Vakrin watched the medical monitors. He saw Dajo's heart rate spike dangerously high. He saw the human's brain activity scatter from the pain, but he did not hear surrender. The Draconite increased the intensity one more level. Dajo's back already. Damage could not take it, something in his spine gave way, the pain became absolute, his vision went dark, his body went limp. Stop, Theln shrieked, you are killing him. Vakrin shut down the device. Medical teams rushed forward. Dajo was unconscious but alive, barely. He failed, Vakrin announced to the council. The human collapsed before completing the trial. He never surrendered. Ambassador Song Men said coldly, he passed out from pain you inflicted. That is not failure, that is torture. The crowd outside erupted in arguments. Some species called the trials unfair. Others said Diho had proven human resilience. The council members argued among themselves in the medical bay. Dajo drifted in darkness. He could feel his body trying to shut down. His back was damaged again, possibly worse than before. He had nothing left, but in the darkness he heard his sister's voice. One more time, get up, little brother. They need you to get up. I can't, he whispered. You have everything, you have will, now use it. Dajo opened his eyes to chaos. The medical bay was full of people. Theln worked frantically over him. Hunwoo stood nearby, face pale. Through the windows he could see crowds of aliens arguing, some looking ready to fight. He's conscious, Yurikimid her crystalline body flickering with relief. Do not move, Thelm commanded. Your back is badly damaged again. We may need to perform surgery. What happened? Dajo and LT Unk and GT's voice came out as a croak. You passed out from the pain, Hyan Wu said. Vakrin declared the trials a failure. He says humans cannot be trusted in the Union. The Council is debating right now whether to expel all humans from Union space. Anger surged through Dajo Ho, giving him strength he should not have. I never surrendered. We no, Thelm said, but you collapsed. Vakrin is using that as proof humans are fragile despite their reputation. Where is he? Dajo asked. In the council chamber presenting his case. Dajo tried to sit up. Pain exploded through his back so intense he nearly blacked out again, but he pushed through it, forcing his body to obey. Stop, Yura said. You cannot move. Your spine is unstable. Then stabilize it, Dajo said through gritted teeth. I need to stand. Impossible, even with support. The risk of permanent paralysis is too high. I don't care about the risk. Help me stand, or I'll do it myself. The doctors looked at each other, then Thelm's tentacles moved in a pattern Diho had learned. Meant resignation. You are the most stubborn being I have ever met. Korvuxy said, fine, but if you die, I'm telling your species it was your own fault. They worked quickly. Emergency back brace locked tight around his torso, stimulants to keep him conscious. Pain medication, though not enough to dull his mind. They could not undo the damage, but they could hold him together temporarily. This will last perhaps 1 hour, Yo warned. After that your body will shut down completely. You may never walk again if you do this. I understand, Dajo said. Quinn and Hunwoo helped him stand. His legs shook violently. The brace dug into his damaged back, but he was upright. He took one step, then another. Each movement was agony. But they were his movements. I'm going To the council chamber he said, "You are insane," Hyan Wu said, but he helped. Anyway, they moved through the corridors of Station Epsilon 7. Workers stopped and stared. Some moved to help. A Velen worker ran ahead to open doors. A Phosian joined them, her crystalline form reflecting the lights like a beacon. Word spread fast. The human was moving. The human who should be dying was walking. By the time they reached the council chamber, a crowd had formed. Hundreds of beings from dozens of species lined the corridor. Some were chanting Dezhou's name, others watched in silence. The council chamber doors were sealed. Inside, through the transparent walls, Dezhou could see Commander Vakrin addressing the council members. The Dragonite's voice carried through speakers into the hallway. The human collapsed, Vakrin said. Despite their reputation for resilience, they failed the assessment. I propose immediate restrictions on human activity in Union space until their species proves they can meet our standards. Ambassador Song Min stood to argue, but several council members spoke over him. The debate was fierce, but Dezhou could see the momentum was against humanity. Fear was winning. He pushed through the doors. The chamber fell silent. Every eye turned to him. Dezhou stood in the doorway, supported by Quinn and Hyan Wu, his emergency back brace visible, his face pale with pain but set with determination. "I never surrendered," he said clearly. Vakrin's eyes widened. "You should be unconscious, possibly dead. What are you doing here?" Vak. Standing, Dezhou said. He nodded to his friends and they stepped back, letting him stand alone. He swayed, nearly fell, but caught himself. His legs trembled. His back felt like it was held together with nothing but will and spite. But he stood. "You collapsed during the trial," Vakrin said. "That is failure. I passed out from pain you inflicted," Dezhou said. "I never said surrender. My body gave out, but my will did not, and now I'm standing again because that's what humans do. We get knocked down and we get back up." He took a step forward. Pain shot through him like electricity. Another step. He focused on Vakrin, on moving forward. "You designed those trials to break me," Dezhou continued to prove humans are too fragile, too dangerous, too different. "But you're afraid for the wrong reasons. Yes, we're resilient. Yes, we survive. What kills other species?" Another step. Sweat poured down his face, his vision blurred. "What makes us dangerous is that we don't endure suffering for ourselves. We do it for others." My sister Jai Wu held up a collapsed building with her broken back to save children she didn't know. "I took that cargo to protect Quinn and his workers. I'm standing here now not for myself but for every human who wants to be part of the galaxy." He reached the center of the chamber. His legs were giving out, but he kept his eyes on the council. "You think our resilience makes us weapons? You're wrong. It makes us shields. We stand between danger and the people we care about. We take the hits so others don't have to. That's what humans are." His voice grew stronger even as his body weakened. "You want to know if we can meet your standards? We already exceed them. We don't just survive in space, we thrive. We don't just work alongside aliens. We save them. We don't just endure pain. We use it to become stronger." Dezhou's legs buckled. He started to fall. Before he hit the ground, Quinn was there catching him. And not just Quinn, a Velen worker he had never met, supported his other side. A Phosian medical technician steadied his Back, a Draconite security guard, tears in his reptilian eyes, helped hold him. Upright, you see, Dezhou said quietly. We don't stand alone. We stand together. Dr. Thelm drifted forward. Council members, I have been studying Dezhou's recovery for months. I have learned something important. Human resilience is not unique. Every species here has incredible survival adaptations. Yura chimed in agreement. The Velen can regenerate lost limbs. The Phosians can rebuild from fragments. The Draconites can survive in vacuum for short periods. The Korvaxi can distribute consciousness across multiple bodies. Every species is resilient in different ways, but humans, Thelm continued, are willing to push their resilience to protect others. That is not biology. That is choice. That is character. The council chamber erupted in debate. Some members argued, others seemed thoughtful. Dezhou watched, barely conscious, held up by beings from half a dozen species. One council member, an ancient being called Morin, from a species Dezhou did not recognize, finally spoke. Their voice was like wind through crystals. I have lived for 600 years. I have seen many species join the Union. Each time there is fear, fear of the different, fear of the unknown, but the Galactic Union was built on the principle that our differences make us stronger, not weaker. Morin looked at Dezhou. This human has shown not just resilience but courage. He stood for his people when he could barely stand at all. The question is not whether humans meet our standards. The question is whether we meet theirs. The vote was called. One by one, council members voiced their decisions. Some voted to restrict humans, but more voted to reject Vakran's proposal. The motion failed. Humans would remain full members of the Galactic Union. Vakran looked stunned, then slowly the Draconite bowed his head. I was wrong, he said quietly. I allowed fear to guide me. Dezhou, you have shown more honor than I have. I apologize. Dezhou nodded too tired to speak. They carried him back to the medical bay. This time the surgery could not wait. Thelmro worked for hours, repairing what they could, stabilizing what they could not. The prognosis was uncertain. 3 days later, Dezhou woke up. Han Wu sat beside his bed. You did it, his friend said. Humans are staying in the Union, and more than that, other species are studying human resilience, not as a threat but as inspiration. How's my back? Dezhou asked. Bad. You'll never be the same. The pain will be permanent. You'll need the cane for the rest of your life. Dezhou absorbed this. He had known it was possible. He had chosen to stand anyway. Worth it, he said. Months passed. Dezhou returned to light duty as a liaison officer, teaching other species about human culture. He walked with a cane, moved carefully, and felt pain with every step, but he walked. 1 year after the accident, he requested leave to return to Earth. He stood at his sister's memorial, a quiet garden where her name was carved among other rescue workers who had given their lives. He placed his cane against the memorial wall. He had learned to walk without it for short distances. Though it hurt, he touched Ju and Lt Uncan GT's name gently. I stood for both of us, sis, he whispered, just like you taught me. We get knocked down, but we get back up, always in the sky. Above, a shuttle passed overhead, carrying humans and aliens working together. A Velen transport ship landed at the nearby spaceport. In orbit, the space station where Dezhou Ho had nearly Died now hosted workers from 30 different species, all learning that their differences made them stronger. Humanity had proven itself not through strength but through resilience, not through violence but through sacrifice, not through standing above others but through standing beside them. Dave picked up his cane and walked slowly through the garden. Each step hurt, each step mattered. He was human, and humans always stood back up. Behind him, the memorial gleamed in the sunlight. Above him, the stars waited, and ahead of him, the future stretched out like a path he would walk, one painful step at a time. Surrounded by friends from 100 worlds, he smiled. The galaxy had learned what humans were made of. Now it was time to show them what humans could build.